Hi everybody, Mr. C here. Oi. Right, I'm comfortable now, wiggling about a bit. Now, this is the last story in this book now. You remember I told you what we were going to read today? Cinderella, you're right. Here it is here. Now, once upon a time, there was a young girl called Cinderella. She lived in a big house with her father, who was often away from home, her horrid stepmother, and her two nasty stepsisters. They hated her because she was pretty and because she was always kind and good-tempered. Her horrid stepmother and nasty stepsisters made Cinderella do all the work in the house. She cleaned and cooked from morning until bedtime. They made her sit in the kitchen, gave her only scraps of food and old clothes to wear. Her bedroom was in a cold, creepy attic. One day, Cinderella and the two stepsisters received invitations to go to a grand ball at the palace. The stepsisters screamed with excitement. "Oh, we must look for our best. We must look our best for the prince." One said, "Oh, we'll need expensive new dresses and new shoes and new bags and new gloves." Well, when the day came, they spent hours getting dressed and doing their hair. At last, when they were ready, Cinderella said, "Please, may I come?" "Ha! No, of course you can't. Stay in the kitchen," screamed the stepsisters, and off they went, slamming the door behind them. Cinderella sat in the kitchen and cried. Then she heard someone say, "What's the matter, my dear?" She looked up, and there was her fairy godmother. "Oh, I did so want to go to the ball," said Cinderella. "Do just as I tell you," said the fairy godmother, smiling, "and you shall go." "Now," she said, "bring me a big pumpkin from the garden, the cage with 6 white mice in it, the cage with a brown rat in it, and 6 green lizards from behind the water tub." Cinderella was very puzzled, but she ran to fetch everything. When she brought them in, her fairy godmother tapped each one with her magic wand, and as Cinderella watched, the big pumpkin turned into a wonderful coach, the 6 white mice into 6 white horses, the brown rat into a coachman, and the 6 lizards into 6 smart footmen. Then the godmother tapped Cinderella's old clothes and shoes with her wand. In a twinkle, they turned into a lovely dress and shining glass slippers. "Go to the ball," she said, "but remember you must leave before the clock strikes midnight." "Oh, thank you," said Cinderella. Cinderella drove off in her coach, and when she reached the palace, the prince came out to meet her. Everyone thought she was a princess, and even her nasty stepsisters did not recognize her. There was a grand supper with lots of delicious things to eat and drink, and musicians played all evening. The prince danced every dance with Cinderella, and she was so happy. She forgot about the time. Suddenly she heard the clock striking midnight. "I must go," she cried, and ran as fast as she could out of the ballroom and down the stairs, losing one of her glass slippers on the way. As she ran out of the palace, the coach turned into a pumpkin and her dress into her old clothes. She ran all the way home in the dark and was sitting in the kitchen when her stepsisters came back. They told her all about the wonderful ball and the strange princess who had suddenly run away. Next morning, the prince was very unhappy. He wanted to find the princess, but he did not even know her name. All he had was her slipper. I will search my kingdom for her, he said. Every girl must try on the slipper, and when I find the one whose foot fits it, she shall be my bride. For days he went from house to house. Lots of girls tried the slipper, but it was too small for them. At last he came to Cinderella's house. The stepsisters tried to put it on. They pushed and they pulled. They cried and they screamed, but their feet were much too big. Cinderella watched them. May I try? She said. No, you can't, shouted the stepsisters angrily. Let her try, said the prince. Of course, the slipper fitted perfectly. At that moment, the fairy godmother appeared, and Cinderella's old clothes turned into a lovely dress. I have found you at last, said the prince. Please, will you marry me? Oh, yes, said Cinderella happily. Oh, no, shouted the stepsisters very crossly. Soon the prince and Cinderella were married. They lived in the palace and were happy ever after. And that's the end of that. And that's the end of the whole book. Okay? First storybook finished. So well done, everybody. We've listened to every story in that, and I hope you enjoyed them. Okay? It's goodbye from the first storybook, and it's goodbye from Mr. C. Bye-bye. Bye.